Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time to forget about Game Week 11 for just one moment and instead talk about Game Week 12 instead. Though I would love to hear from some of you guys, what is your score so far in Game Week 11 and are you happy about it? Let me know in the comments. But guys, let's talk about Game Week 12 today and what kind of players and team we want to be targeting for future game weeks. If you do enjoy this one, drop a like on the video, do subscribe if you're new around here, and I want to share with you this perfect team for Game Week 12 and beyond. So I have for you today a team for Game Week 12 onwards, whether it's a wildcard team or a team you just want to base your team on around, like try and move towards a team looking something like this, try and build a team that looks a bit like this for future game weeks. It's all going to be all good in the hood. This team is worth 100.1 million, so fairly cheap, probably on the cheap side of a lot of your budgets. I'm sure you'll be able to have some money to improve on this one, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. Starting off in goal, and we're going to go for Johnston. Obviously, we know that Johnston is a very, very valuable goalkeeper in FPL at the moment. Coming in at 4.6 million is a very good price for him. The fixtures look pretty good, and we know with Crystal Palace that we just trust them to keep clean sheets. We know when they've got slightly easier fixtures, they're not going to concede too many chances. They're going to play fairly defensive football, and I feel particularly when Eze and Elise are back in the team, they are going to be able to have a little bit more of the ball as well, which should allow them to keep even more clean sheets. I think having the attacking players back in the team will actually improve them defensively as well. So looking forward to that, and I think that definitely a team that we want to be targeting. And I think a player like Johnston, because he makes so many saves and stuff like that, he's going to be a player that you'll be happy to own long term, play him in the difficult fixtures and the easy ones. He's just a good goalkeeper to have overall. So let's move into defense now. And I think Trippier is probably a player that at this moment I would say is a player I would definitely want to have in my FPL team. And it's so difficult with Trippier because we keep flicking on and off. Do we really need him? Can we save some money by going for someone cheaper and move the money into the attacking positions? It's so hard to decide, isn't it? But now we've got the Arsenal fixture out the way. The fixtures do get a lot better from here. We've got Chelsea and Manchester United at home in the next four, which actually I don't think are such bad fixtures. But really, after that, the fixtures look amazing for Newcastle and Trippier. So now we've got the Arsenal fixture out the way, I would say at this point, Trippier is a very, very good player to have. And we've seen another 9-pointer. We've seen once again, this guy is built for bonus points because he creates so many chances, because his pass completion rate is so good. If Newcastle keep a clean sheet, or even if they don't keep a clean sheet, he is going to be a player who gets bonus points all the time. And that's going to be so valuable when we look around FPL. We're not really seeing too many defenders that are getting decent points at the moment. So Trippier is going to be valuable. Very, very reliable player. And it's just as, just as worth going for as any midfielder around a similar price. So definitely a player I would be interested in to take up one of those defense positions that, quite frankly, are difficult to fill. The next player I'm going to put in defense is actually going to be Gabriel. I think well, first of all, no, he didn't keep a clean sheet in Game Week 11, but, there would be some people out there who might say that he was robbed of a clean sheet, and in general, I do think Arsenal are still defending really, really well. I wouldn't let that Newcastle result dissuade you from that. The fixtures from here for Arsenal are phenomenal. There's going to be loads of opportunities for clean sheets for a top defence like Arsenal. I think with the loss against Newcastle, Gabriel and Arteta, there's not going to be chance for rotation. There's not going to be a chance to, rest your best players anymore. Every result is really, really going to count from here on. And Gabriel, can't see him getting rotated at all at this point. He is Arsenal's best left centre-back, and I expect he will stay in the team, partnering Saliba in that back line. No rotation anymore from him. Just can't afford to do it. Can't afford to take that risk. Gabriel, also, we know he's a decent threat from set pieces. He's a very good price at 4.8 million. I think he's just the best way of getting involved in the Arsenal defence right now, particularly with these great fixtures. So I think with limited defenders to go for right now, an Arsenal defender who is a fairly decent price with great fixtures, a great defence, everything looks good here, and you could just pick up a nice 6 points most game weeks. And I think that's all we really need or want from a defender right now, right? Because the days of the Trent Alexander-Arnold of old, and Matty Cash, we thought he would be something that maybe he has turned out not to be. Those days are gone, and Trippier is really the only kind of defender that can consistently get you attacking returns. There's not really anyone else out there at the moment, so we're going to go for some more defensive defenders. We're also going to put Mitchell in this team. He's going to be a bit of a rotation player in this squad. So we are going to have a player on the bench who you might want to rotate with Mitchell here and there. But in general, look, Mitchell is cheap, 4.5 million. You get another player in the Crystal Palace defense. It is a bit double jeopardy with Johnston in goal. But like I say, there is another option on the bench, so you can afford to rotate if you want. I don't think Mitchell is essential in this team, but looking through the 4.5 million defenders around that price, I don't really want to spend too much more than that. Mitchell is probably the answer, to be fair. I don't really like many of the other defenses. No one else is really appealing to me right now. So, yeah, Mitchell has kind of made it into this team by default in many ways. A little bit differential there, though, which is quite nice. Moving on into midfield, we have got Mo Salah. No returns against Luton Town. That good fixture is out the way, but never ever doubt Salah's ability to get points when you don't expect it. He's done it before, he'll do it again. Don't let that Luton game put you off. In many ways, Salah is kind of fixture-proof because he gets points either on the counter-attack or from penalties, pretty much. That's his two routes to get, get those points. And actually, playing against, a Man City might be beneficial in that regard. So, certainly a player I want to have in my team still. He's just Mr. FPL, isn't he? And he will get you FPL points no matter what the occasion. And he's been pretty consistent this season. A little blip against Luton Town, it is what it is. Let's move on to Son, a player who is actually in form. Looking forward to seeing what he produces against Chelsea, but we're putting Game Week 11 aside. I just think Son is in such good form. I think arguably at this point, with Salah kind of maybe not passing the eye test right now, Haaland kind of blanking occasionally, maybe getting hooked at halftime, Son is genuinely right now looking just as good as those other two guys. He's looking just as, just as interesting, just as enticing, really, isn't he? So for that reason, Son at 9.6 million has to make this team. I think he is probably one of the most essential players in FPL right now. After the Chelsea game, the fixtures do look pretty nice. We've got Wolves, Aston Villa at home. That's really going to suit Son. We've got West Ham coming up as well. West Ham have been super weak defensively, so Son is going to be able to exploit that. And even Man City, Son is the kind of player who does well against Man City. That's all I'm going to say on that one. So, would not be totally surprised to see him return, even in that difficult fixture. So Son definitely makes the perfect team for me. We've got Saka up next. Great fixtures, really good fixtures. Burnley up next. That is a real opportunity to get some goals, some goals for Arsenal. We've got Brentford after that, Wolves and Luton. So decent fixtures overall. The decent fixtures do last quite a long time as well. And the good fixtures are really in front of Saka. And what I should say, when building this team, I was basically left with a choice. You have to sacrifice someone. You could sacrifice Trippier. I decided I'm not going to go that way. I would not want to do that at this point. I think Trippier is becoming more and more important. So I was kind of left with a decision. I sacrificed Saka or Watkins. Now in this team, I've chosen Saka over Watkins. So there's no Watkins in this team. You're gonna have to wait and see who I've put as the striker up front. But we've got Saka in this team. I do feel like genuinely the fixtures are good. They're better than Watkins. Watkins' form is maybe slightly dropping a little bit now, and the best fixtures are in the past for Aston Villa now. I don't think Watkins is a must-sell or anything, but, I think if I had to choose one of Saka or Watkins at this moment, I think I'd probably choose Saka, to be fair. So that's the reason why Saka is making this team. Great fixtures. He is hopefully going to be back on penalties. Hopefully he's going to get into some better form, and I just think the fixtures are a great opportunity. Next up, Mbeumo. So, putting fixtures to one side for a moment, what form this player is in. Against West Ham, yes, he didn't come away with an insane amount of points, but if you watch the game, any of you guys watched the game, or if you didn't watch the game, do go and watch the highlights, because Mbeumo could have had a hat-trick in the first half. He really is just phenomenal right now. He is so good. He really could be scoring 200, 250 points by the end of this season. He is playing that well, and on penalties as well, doing super well in the counter-attack. That's going to be really nice against the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, because he does have that counter-attacking ability. After that, we've got Luton, Brighton, and some great fixtures after that as well. So, form over fixtures as far as Mbeumo is concerned. He's one of the form players of the whole Premier League, so I don't really care who he plays. He's a player that I would want to have in my team. And finally, Gordon. Yes, the injury problems are mounted at Newcastle, and I do think eventually Gordon is going to get rested. But look, Bournemouth is up next. Newcastle are scoring a lot of goals in general at the moment. They're in great form at the moment. I just feel like at 5.7 million, it's a really good price for Gordon. He's my favourite kind of sub 6 million player at the moment. So for that reason, he gets included in this team. But maybe a little shout out to Cole Palmer as well at 5 million. But next 2 fixtures, not so good for Palmer. But for now, Gordon, you can maybe downgrade to Palmer in a couple of weeks' time when Chelsea's fixtures look a little bit better there as well. Up front, we've got Erling Haaland. I know he is an injury doubt, but I'm going to work on the assumption right now that he is going to be available for Game Week 12. I imagine he probably will be available for Game Week 12, but don't know that for sure. We've got to go just by assumptions. We're very, very early. It's Sunday when I'm recording this. So, yeah, we've got a lot of time to make the FPL decision still, but didn't want to just note that. But regardless, if he is available, he is not a player I'd want to remove from my team. Super unlucky against Bournemouth. That is a real freak result. And I'm sure a lot of fellow Haaland captainers were pretty disappointed by Game Week 11 and how he didn't produce anything other than the 1 point. But look, sometimes FPL is about luck. You know, we know this. We know this by now. And yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If Haaland's fit, he stays in the team. And our final player in this starting 11 is actually going to be Eddie Nketiah. So we've got the Newcastle fixture out the way. That was a horror fixture. We knew that was going to be a horror fixture. But now we've got Burnley. Now we've got Wolves in a couple of weeks. Now we've got Luton in a couple of weeks as well. Now, is Nketiah going to be the star man, the starting striker during this fixture run? Well, he should be good for this game week. I think he'll probably be good for Game Week 13 as well, most likely. After that, I don't know. The Gabriel Jesus injury situation is super unclear right now, but given the fact we do have Burnley at home next, I would be happy to take the risk at this point that I could have Nketiah for a few game weeks. If you can get 3 or 4 game weeks out of Nketiah, you've done really well. But if that doesn't happen and you only have him for Burnley and Brentford, I don't think that's so bad either, to be fair. I actually think that's still okay. And maybe you can gain enough points from him in the short term that it's actually worth spending an additional transfer to then remove him again. Few other cheapies at the moment going around. You've got the likes of Wissa, you've got the likes of Ferguson there, João Pedro. So there are still a few options around if you did want to switch Nketiah for someone else after he does start to see a reduction in his minutes. But for now, we've got to play what is in front of us. And what's in front of us is Nketiah against Burnley, and that's a very, very nice opportunity for all of us FPL managers. Now, going on to the bench, guys, we've got Strakosha. Might get a game in Game Week 12, possibly, but in general, I just like a 3.9 million goalkeeper to pair with Johnston. Just play Johnston every week. Keep the 3.9 million guy on the bench. We've got Lascelles. No return date on Botman. Botman might actually need surgery, so it could be a long time before we see Botman back in a Newcastle United shirt. So I do think it's worth going for Lascelles at 4 million. Nice, cheap guy there, and he can come in and play occasionally. Now, you know, this game week, for example, Game Week 12, you could even play him ahead of Mitchell if that's something you wanted to do. When Newcastle do have some good fixtures, we can bring him in. You can substitute out some of your other players. You know, Mitchell against West Ham away, for example, in a couple of weeks. I'd bring in perhaps Lascelles there against Manchester United. I know, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it still, but there we are. That's where we're at. Bulldog is a cheap guy, and Osler is a cheap guy as well on the bench. Really, really cheap players there to help you free up a little bit of budget as well. But of course, like I say, guys, we've got a super cheap team here. I like to make a nice cheap team that you guys can use as a basis. And if you feel like you want to upgrade some of those positions, particularly on the bench, then that's absolutely fine as well. We're going to put a captain's armband. My thinking right now is captain's armband on Son, actually. So yeah, Son is going to get the captaincy. That is my current thinking. I don't know if I might change my mind by the time we actually hit the deadline. But right now I'm thinking Son. I'll put the vice captain on Saka because Burnley, I guess. Just not really feeling Haaland against Chelsea away, particularly as we don't know if 100% how many minutes he's going to be able to play. And Salah against Brentford. I don't know. Salah's just not passing the eye test right now. I know he has a knack of getting FPL points, but Son is in genuine insane form right now. So that's why he gets the captain's armband for me. But I do want to show you guys how this team lines up for the future game weeks. And also do want to share with you one more thing that I think I just need to say it in one video because it's something I think we all need to think about. So let's do that. Okay, guys, so this is the team in the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool. Remember, if you want to go check this out for yourself, the link is in the description for you to use this tool for absolutely for free, which is really, really nice. It's a great tool for planning. But I did just want to show you this team. First of all, I built this team initially in this tool before I made the graphics for the video, so I did want to show you that. But what I was super impressed by when I was building this team is that it's somehow, and I didn't plan for this to happen, it's somehow got a 99% AI rating. So the underlying numbers really, really favor this team. Really think it's going to do super, super well. So there's definitely some real nice nuggets in here, and a lot of the players predicted to do really well, score really, really nice points. So super impressed by that. And it's a nice confirmation that you sometimes, you know, perhaps need when you're building a team, when you're selecting players. You need that confirmation sometimes to say, okay, am I along the right lines here? Yes, the AI tool in Fantasy Football Hub reckons I am along the right lines. So going through the next couple of game weeks, game week 13, it reckons play Lascelles ahead of Gabriel. So Lascelles at home against Chelsea versus Gabriel away against Brentford. So that swapped things around slightly there. But I should say Bulldog also plays Bournemouth at home in this week. So you could maybe play Bulldog there as well if you really, really wanted to. Game week 14, we're going to bring Mitchell onto the bench. Like I kind of mentioned before, away against West Ham. Not a great fixture for Crystal Palace. And Lascelles again comes in there. For the following game week, it's Lascelles back on the bench, so this is back to the normal team pretty much. Of course, by this point, you've probably made a transfer or two, haven't you? Moving on. And you're really seeing some, you're seeing some more changes here. But I want to go through not just one more game week, but 2 more game weeks, because I want to talk about this. This is game week 18, guys. This is something I do think we need to talk about. And I didn't really know when to talk about this, so I'm going to just stick it at the end of this video, I guess. But I think it's time to start talking and thinking about blank game week 18, because I've seen a lot of people are bringing in Mbumo, you know, Wissa, Pinnock, maybe you know, going for like a Strakosha Flecken goalkeeper combo at the moment. A lot of people are going for Doku. A lot of people are going for Doku right now after his score against Bournemouth, which is obviously going to happen every single game week. You know, Doku 22 points for the rest of the season every week. Who says no? You know, Alvarez and some other players, Foden perhaps from Man City. And we do need to be aware that Brentford and Man City both do blank in game week 18. So if you are overloaded on, you know, Mbumo, Haaland, obviously fine, standard, you know, a lot of people are going to have these players. But if you are overloaded with more players from Brentford and Man City for this game week 18, you are going to find yourself in a lot of trouble and not have too many players to play. You may even be forced to use your free hit chip because you just don't have a full squad. But what I would say is if you do think that the free hit is viable, and I do think there is a strategy that is possible where you do use a free hit, because what we do know is that one, Brentford and Man City have great fixtures before and after their blank. We also know that Man City and Brentford, because they blank in game week 18, they're going to have a double game week probably very soon after. Could be around the game week 20 mark. We could actually see Brentford and Man City, following their blank, actually have a double game week. So we will want to have the players for them. So overloading your team on Brentford and Man City players is viable. You know, start building towards that only if you are planning on using a free hit in game week 18. It is a strategy that I don't think will be super popular, but it is definitely an interesting strategy that I think is viable. So think about it, guys. If you are bringing in Brentford and Man City players, how are you going to deal with that come game week 18? Do you have a plan for that? Do you want to use a chip? Do you want to try and avoid using a chip? If so, we do need to start thinking about that now, because this game week, this big game week that is going to cause some troubles, is in vision, is within our vision now. And do you really want to be playing the likes of Bulldog from your bench in this game week? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But we will leave that one there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like and subscribe if you haven't done already. It all really helps out the channel as well. Like I say, leave a comment telling me how well you're doing so far in Game Week 11. And it'd be interesting to hear some of your thoughts about what's going to happen going forward with Brentford and Man City. Like, how are you going to deal with that situation? Are you going to buy their players? Are you just going to try and avoid their players because of that blank? It's going to be different strategies coming out there. Make sure you do check out Fantasy Football Hub. Link in the description to check out all of their tools absolutely for free. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.